In Ghana, road accidents account for many deaths each year. According to the Motor Traffic and Transport Department of the Ghana Police Service, between January and November this year, 13,675 road crashes were documented in Ghana. These crashes resulted in 2,171 deaths, while 14,239 were injured. Some of the major causes of these road accidents are the increasing incidence of wrongful overtaking and overspeeding due partly to the incompetence of drivers. Kwame Kodia-Ituahene is the head of Regulation, Inspection and Compliance at the National Road Safety Authority. He explains that some of the fraudulent ways of acquiring a driver's license are disturbing. According to him, driving is a risky activity which requires validated expertise.
Oh yeah, when you look at the law, there are three key conditions. You must pass a theory test, you must pass an in-traffic test, and you must pass a physical fitness test. So these are three conditions that the licensing authority will normally look out for. A deficit on any one of the three does not give comfort for the sort of task that is required of you. If you are not physically fit, you may have the skill to drive, but you don't have the knowledge. The knowledge would require that you have a sense of how to be safe in a road safety environment or in a road. But your ability to move a vehicle forward and backwards enough does not qualify you as a good driver.
Ghana Private Road Transport Union attributes the carnage on our roads to unqualified drivers, some of whom have no idea about the different requirements for obtaining licenses to operate saloon cars as opposed to large trucks. Following the introduction of new reforms in 2012 and 2014 to curb the rot in acquisition of driver's licenses, Corruption Watch's investigative journalist Francisca Enchil set out to investigate the DVLA's reformed processes. The investigation was carried out in two regions: the Greater Accra Regional Office located at 37 in Accra and the Tamale Regional Office in the Northern Region. By law, the DVLA has specific requirements that all applicants must meet before becoming licensed drivers. However, this investigation captured several DVLA officials and their agents, as well as security men, soliciting money to circumvent the official mandatory requirements in total disregard for the danger their actions pose to human lives. Applicants at the 37 and Tamale DVLA offices who meet the illicit cost of between 1,200 and 1,800 Ghana cedis, which is more than 100% of the official cost, avoid the mandatory 48-hour driving school enrollment requirement, computerized examination, in-traffic driving test, and the road sign test to become licensed drivers without ever demonstrating whether or not they even know how to drive. The officials even aid applicants with eye problems to pass the mandatory eye test instead of allowing the natural process which will refer applicants with eye problems to specialists for solutions.
What's the process like? We'll just, from here, we'll do the capturing the eye test.
So what if I have an eye problem?
Boss, they will charge you. So, you are the one claiming that. It's more or less like help. So since we'll make sure we all these things for you to do.
In 2014, DVLA introduced the mandatory 48 driving hours or 10 working days driving school training requirement as the first step in acquiring a license. However, at the DVLA's 37 office, this investigation established that contrary to the law, the entire mandatory knowledge acquisition at a driving school has been reduced to a mere illegal purchase of a reference number from staff.
325 for the first stage and 150 cedis for driving school slots.
Driving school slots, okay.
That is what we are going to use to get to an exam date.
To buy a driving school, are you coming for a driving school?
No.
So you buy a driving school, and you can provide one for you. Like you can go and get go to a driving school. Driving school.
Driving school.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's what you use to apply for the exam.
Okay.
So either we can get you some, or you like to go to a driving school and get buy it.
Okay.
So we sell it here for 200 cedis. So outside it's all for 250.
Okay.
But we sell it for 200 cedis.
The investigator, after learning that the driving school reference number was on sale at varying rates of 150 to 200 Ghana cedis, identified the premium office as one of the hotspots for these unauthorized arrangements. Here, the unlawful sale appears institutionalized as staff attach the unlawful price of the reference number to the lawful cost of stage 1 of the license acquisition process.
325 for the first stage and 150 cedis for driving school slots.
Driving school slots, okay.
That is what we are going to use to get to an exam date.
During payment, the investigator was asked to pay the stage 1 fee first, after which an official receipt was issued. The investigator was then directed to pay another official an additional 150 Ghana cedis for the reference number.
And then,
So you need the payment of 150.
the madam.
Who call you?
Pardon?
Who call you?
Okay. But there's no number that I can call, or there's no need. Thank you.
After making both payments, the investigator was handed an official receipt. It had the legitimate cost of the stage 1 process printed. The 150 Ghana cedis paid for the reference number was handwritten on the same receipt. This investigation found that once the reference number is acquired right inside the premium office, the applicant skips enrolling into a driving school for the 10-day training. However, DVLA staff are able to produce this reference number and attendance record for a driving school he or she never attended. According to Mr. Kafui Semevo, Director of Driver Training, Testing and Licensing at DVLA, the reference number or driving school code is not supposed to be sold at DVLA or by DVLA officials.
So what you are calling the driving code is the application fee the person will be paying. But you are paying that fee to the driving school, not DVLA.
That number, you're not supposed to pay for it at DVLA?
No, because that is your registration number at the driving school. And you can only pay for registration to the driving school, not DVLA. Because DVLA is not providing you that training. So DVLA is not even a user of the system. So I will be surprised to know. And I will even be interested to pursue that particular, if there is any evidence to that effect. Yeah.
Apart from the sale of the reference number at DVLA, some driving schools were also involved in outwitting the system to get applicants' licenses at DVLA without meeting the requirements. Corruption Watch's investigator visited the State Transport Company Driving School, the respected state-owned driving school, in pursuit of the driving school requirement of the DVLA.
And they said we should go to a driving school for driving school code. So, nothing another hand.
Please, you want to go down around? Is it license taken out?
After disclosing the purpose of the visit to the receptionist, she called an instructor on the phone and referred the investigator to him. Sharing the telephone number of the instructor, the receptionist advised the investigator to inform him she wanted an express service, which she said would attract more charges.
I think that one comes with an extra cost.
Investigator called the instructor as advised and made an offer of 1,300 Ghana cedis to get her the license in a week without getting through any of the required tests. The instructor also explained what the receptionist meant by express service.
Your friends, your license, nearly 1 week, but they are 1,003. Okay, now 1 month, they are 1,001. 20, yes. Yeah, na normal one, 800. And you know, you have sort of officers in it, like home pass it through that stress match. It is one touch.
And to say exams, no. Make 1,003 now, exams, no mean true.
No exam, nothing. You know, we just need your biometrics and your information in the data, that's all. Then we just give you, and you get the card itself. You get the driver's license card.
The instructor set a date to meet the investigator to start the process. And this meeting happened at the STC driving school where he explicitly made his offer.
That's all. Until we didn't in advance.
Because or entire attack and it's irreversible. No, the same is what there's a one discount. And yes, what we did, but it's work for time and this answer. Oh, and I'm
See, I know some over Sancho is on food.
That's what you could go and you worry. Not there, much was there, but no other than you go.
That's all.
The instructor then took the investigator to the 37 office where he received payment for the illicit deal and took the investigator through the capturing process. One week later, the investigator received the license as promised. When the managing director of Intercity STC Coaches Limited, Nana Akumia, was confronted with the actions of a member of his staff, he described the offer as unlawful and outlined the official process.
I must commend your outfit Corruption Watch for the work that you have done. It is through such undercover investigative work that the system can be corrected and improved. And I'm very happy that you came here and did this work. It will allow us to put corrective measures. And I've seen the evidence that you have. The union leader was here, the head of technical was here. We've seen the evidence, and we're very happy about it. So we would commence disciplinary proceedings against the individuals at the driving school that you identified. And I expect that a maximum penalty will apply.
The managing director described the negative implication of his staff members' illicit action. He assured that disciplinary action will be taken immediately.
Road safety begins with the driver. That's the first, the human material on the road before the mechanical sides can be put. So if the man or the woman in charge of the vehicle obtain their license through an unapproved route, it's got huge implications for road safety. That is, an unqualified person is operating machinery on the road and certainly that has major road safety implications. So apart from the people stealing money from the company, because the monies that will be paid for the illegal routes goes to into their pockets. Apart from that, they also risk damaging the reputation of the state.
This investigation established that officials involved use gaps in the official license acquisition process, deceit, greed, and fraud to sway applicants into acquiring the license using their corrupt ways, disregarding verification and validation of applicants and its implication on road safety. In 2012, DVLA, in an effort to fight the rot in the examination process at the time, introduced the computerized theory examination.
So when we started the theory test, that was way back in 2003, it was paper-based. Now, the leakages, credibility of the test was at stake. So people could go in there, and by the time you realize, because you are shading, once the invigilator loses sight of something, somebody can exchange answers and those things. There were a lot of, challenges with the paper base. So that is what informed us introducing technology.
This investigation, however, established that the computerized examination had shortcomings, which became a barrier for license acquisition for a large section of the public who can neither read nor write the English language, as well as those who can read and write English but are not computer literate. A challenge the DVLA acknowledges. In an interview with Godfred Abulbire, General Secretary of the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, he disclosed that 95% of their 7,100 registered drivers are not computer literate and so cannot even sit, let alone pass, a computerized examination. The union has hence called for the computerized exams to be abolished.
When you are talking about the educational background of our members, then we can say that we have about 20% nationwide who are educated, and we have about 80% who are not educated, and 20% are educated. We have some other persons who have completed school and have passed through certain stages, but they cannot even boot a computer on. Yes, I can tell you, we have about 5% of them who can actually do it, but the rest, like I said, don't even have the formal education, so they will not be able to boot a computer on, let alone to be able to use it.
The Corruption Watch investigator found that due to the barrier created with the introduction of the computerized examination, some officials of DVLA have taken advantage of the gap to enrich themselves by illegally assisting applicants to outwit the system. Doing all the illicit offers made by the officials, the investigator randomly selected 2 officials at the 37 office, where the first DVLA official charged 1,200 Ghana cedis and a second charged 1,500 Ghana cedis. In Tamale, an official and his accomplice charged 1,500 Ghana cedis. All 3 operate with the help of 1 person each who serves as their errand boy. These DVLA officials in both regions, after receiving payment for the illicit deal, managed the entire license acquisition process to bend the rules in preventing the applicants from going through all the tests and eventually passed them. Furthermore, all the 3 offer similar services at slightly different rates. The only difference in their mode of operation was that the officials at 37 require their applicants to be physically present for the computerized examination, albeit an official will answer the questions on their behalf. The first DVLA official, immediately after receiving the illicit payment of 1,200 Ghana cedis, vacated his seat and personally took the investigator round from one office to the other to capture his biodata. The investigator did not enroll in any driving school but got a reference number to sit the computerized examination. On the day of the computerized examination, the Corruption Watch agent reported to the official, who gave him documents containing his registration details. Behind these papers, stapled together, was a handwritten name. The official asked the investigator to show this name to the examiner and he would be taken care of.
When you go, show this to the guy. Okay. So tell him you should check his inbox. Your name is okay.
The examiner checked the back of the document the moment they were handed to him. The Corruption Watch agent was offered a seat and asked not to touch anything. Minutes later, he returned and pretended to set up the computer for the exam, when in reality, he was answering all the questions on behalf of the Corruption Watch agent. The whole process took 1 minute 45 seconds, instead of the 30-minute duration of the exam. The agent scored 85%.
Listen, I'm coming. Don't do anything, I'm coming.
The Corruption Watch agent was not made to take an in-traffic test, also known as the driving test. There was no road sign test either, but a driver's license was issued. In the case of the second DVLA official, the investigator visited the client service section of the 37 office to inquire about license acquisition. After the response of the official, the investigator asked whether there was no alternative to the computerized exams, to which the official responded by handing the investigator a piece of paper with his name and phone number, asking the investigator to call him after work. The investigator called the official days later, and the official disclosed he could aid the investigator to circumvent the system at the cost of 1,500 Ghana cedis.
Hello? Hello. Yeah, boss, good evening. Yeah, please, am I speaking to Fifi? I was at your office last week and you asked me to call you.
If you pay the 1,000, if you are paying the 1,000 for that, that means you are leaving it for them to do everything for you.
Aside from using the state-owned facility for private gains, some of these officials at DVLA employ the services of agents, who they refer applicants to after a deal has been struck. These agents then work with DVLA staff in other departments to break the rules. The investigator made part payment, and the official, whose role at the client service section prevented him from vacating his seat, introduced the investigator to another gentleman to take the investigator through the process. The agent took the applicant to another gentleman, who he introduced as the driving school agent, to produce the driving school code for the applicant who had not attended the driving school. He then took the applicant swiftly through the process, jumping queues and bending the rules amidst fights with other unassisted applicants who had been sitting in the queue all day. Although the public address system at the premises of the DVLA repeatedly states clearly that applicants are to deal only with the staff of the authority and go through the right processes, the gaps in the system as well as the deceit of some officials make the instructions redundant. Apart from the differences in the prices of both DVLA officials, the services offered remained the same. Later, the investigator texted the official to inquire about the in-traffic and road sign tests. He was informed they had all been taken care of. Weeks later, the investigator received a genuine license without ever sitting any exams. Tamale DVLA office is very calm, less busy, and looks nothing like the Accra office. After days of surfing the facility, a spot was identified as the fastest point to pull a deal. The deal was swift. At this point, the investigation had established a trend of different people from different DVLA offices charging similar prices for their illicit services. Here, the errand boy does the deal while his boss pretends not to be aware of what is happening right in front of him. The boss only steps in when it is time to bargain. According to the agent, failure of the computerized exams is inevitable, insisting that even professors fail.
Yeah, so
that we learned some exams.
No. So that because we are doing it, we make sure we do right.
So you don't like it.
So if you are driving safe, no matter how lectures fail, professors fail. Or you try.
Why would I try?
So because of those things that we make sure your money, all these things.
He charged 1,500 Ghana cedis, which was to be paid in full for express service. When the investigator insisted on a reduction, the errand boy referred the issue to his boss, who according to him had the final say.
So we're asking that if we could pay the 1,000, then probably by tomorrow morning we'll be able to pay the rest.
My sister is a sister. Okay, so why you pay? There's a lot of challenges.
Yeah, my boy.
Because we have so many ways doing it. If you want the one you are talking about, that you want to pay the 1,000 today, it will pass 1 month. You can pay the half, but the following when you are to complete it, you can pay the rest.
Okay.
But what I don't know, the one you actually want.
That they wanted it fast.
The 1,500.
The moment the payment was made to the errand boy, his boss immediately vacated his seat and asked the corruption watch agent to follow him to start the process. The arrangement was the same as the offers in Accra. The applicant skips every process after paying. There was, however, a difference in the waiting time for the temporary license in this case. Another difference in Tamale was that the investigator did not even have to be present in the exam room to pretend to be writing the exams. Everything was done in his absence by the DVLA officials. COP Ebenezer Francis Doku, Director General of the Motor Traffic and Transport Department of the Ghana Police Service, disclosed that it is the responsibility of the DVLA to ensure the system is not corrupted, as the MTTD is unable to identify which driver acquired his license through unlawful means once the license is found to be genuine.
If it turns out that the license is genuine, of course, it is not our duty to trace how the driver got his license. We are interested in the genuineness of the license. Yeah.
It is important to note that among the officials encountered in the two regions, only one of the Tamale office officials, Stephen Akom, stood out. He was the only DVLA official who refused to accept anything apart from the official laid-down process and cost. Even when the investigator asked for alternatives, he insisted the license could not be acquired without going through all of the tests required by law.
Okay. Once you are in
Corruption Watch's investigation has clearly shown that both the DVLA and the driving schools have to take corrective action to address corruption in the driver's license acquisition process to prevent unqualified drivers from operating vehicles on our roads, which invariably lead to avoidable road accidents and the resultant fatalities. In the case of the language barrier with the exams, which has made it impossible for applicants who don't speak, read, or write English to sit the exam and sometimes use a proxy, it is assuring that the DVLA says it intends to introduce voiceovers for the computerized examination questions in 5 different local languages.
We always ask the question, what will encourage an applicant, for instance, to not want to follow the process? One of them we realized was if the person left home and came to your office and everything is in English, that person wants to obtain the service the right way, but there is a barrier. How do you take the barrier away? Okay, and sometimes we engage people who have tried to obtain service and have not been successful. We try to understand what the needs are, so we incorporate it in our reform, and that is why this particular upgrade is very, very important to us.
It has been 10 years and counting since that solution was suggested, but there still is no specific timeline for implementation. Authorities say they continue to work towards addressing the lapses in the system. But as long as there remains a lack of integrity in the driver licensing regime, road users must exercise caution on the roads to reduce escalating road accidents and deaths. This has been a Francisca Enchil report.